For this, we are changing how we made the game. We are scaling how we made the game in all areas. This is not just a Planetary update. This is a collection of systems that we call Genesis.
Now, this isn't the only thing that will drive the color of the leaves. We're going to introduce the concept of seasons to the game. And this will mean our planets will evolve through the year, and we'll be able to shed leaves from trees and have the grass wither in winter. This is now vastly faster than the previous system, but it also allows us to generate the terrain in much higher resolution, which means all the popping you can see on the mountains as we're approaching, all of that should be completely eliminated on the right-hand side of the screen.
With the extra headroom we've gained by making our terrain system more planets, we've taken off all the assets so you can see the issue. And now how it looks, you don't see those lines going at all. And one more. With bigger groups in the distance and individual assets up close. Just as a demonstration, this is the sort of density you can expect on microtech today. And in a second, we'll flip over to what you can expect from the new upcoming tech. In a second, we're going to turn on the culling groups debug so you can see. These are the groups that we create of those trees and of the terrain. And as we get closer, we shrink them so we're more intelligently rendering what we need without having to assess each tree individually, all the way down to the ground.
As you walk or swim through the water, you may come across obstacles like logs or debris floating on the surface. They will react to the player character and can be pushed out of the way. We were also pleasantly surprised when we first saw how the water simulation systemically affects assets floating on the water surface, making for some really immersive moments. For the water's edge, we made plants like this Alternatera and the iris. We also need the aquatic ones to float on the water surface, like the water lily or the pickerel weed. This willow and the one after, a Chinese tallow tree, while comfortable near water, we can also use to replace some of the more aged assets used to seeing elsewhere in the game. The last one, it's taking a bit longer now, but the last one, I'm gonna wait. The last one, you may not see used much in other biomes, but it's a very iconic one for the swamp, the bald cypress. The floor, herb and brush layer, we could almost do before, obviously missing the density. But now we also have the option to add variation to the tree layer by dynamically spawning epiphytes like lianas, orchids, or bromeliads, attached to trunks and canopies of other assets. Now, to get us started on our certification, we made epiphytes like the Epiprenum and the bromeliad, including a potted version for your hab. Then obviously you need jungles for lianas for a jungle. And we also made the grias, which add character to the herb and tree layer. For tall trees, we decided on the fairly generic rubber tree, as its different growth stages serve as a nice foundation for all height levels. And that's pretty much it, what we need to make a pretty good base for jungle. we will be implementing a GPU-based simulation that's fit for our game scale. For now, we've set up the ferns with our existing CPU-based one to better visualize what it will feel like to walk amongst those giants. Also, with the biomes on our planets now being defined by where an individual object wants to appear, you can expect a lot more happy accidents by having species invade different biomes, making for some unique locations, hopefully. Surely. A fairly common family of species for the ground levels of all redwoods are ferns, in our case a sword fern. We also made a huckleberry variant to provide some visual density for the shrub layer. To add some Jurassic vibes, we made tree ferns, as they can be found in New Zealand's redwood forests. The most important one, though, are obviously sequoias, and they ended up being one of our most complex sets yet. As it turns out, they can grow to be fairly ridiculous in size. It keeps going.
As you can see, we're now able to make full-size locations, and they will look completely different based on where you'd find them. The layouts are controlled by the rules, and it will reflect its place in the verse. We've got farms, mining outposts, but even our older locations, such as the bunkers that you find on Stanton. So to hit that bit of our benchmark, we make sure that locations are near each other and group them together. The effect it gives is a fully developed landscape with vistas and points of interest all over. And we group them together in what we like to call a cluster, like this one, that has 13 locations. Just like our locations, we can put clusters near other clusters, and we group them together, ranging between 10 to 15 locations each. And we group this into what we call a sector. Like this one, that has about 120 locations. However, on a planetary scale, we can define how many sectors we should have, with each their own data and persona. And every single one of these locations is now ready for the mission system to hook up and give you gameplay, and for you to find a bunch of places on your own. And just on this side of the planet, can you guess the number? We've got about 3,042 locations.
So, attacking an outpost now must have a level of depth that goes beyond what we had. So layouts of the environment can change, vehicles may or may not be present, and PC can be anywhere. And if it's a bright day, well, we will be more visible, but our enemies will also be more visible. And if you choose to attack at nighttime, well, we'll attack in shadows. During darkness, it's going to be a bit harder to see our enemies, but we will also be harder to be spotted. And it will give us more opportunities to be stealthy and sneaky. How do we do that? So as you see, there is also a lot of different light conditions in this outpost. We'll see two main elements: the graph on the top left and the two colorful cones. The graph on the left basically represents the current light level the NPC is in and the current multiplier this light level generates to speed up or slow down the NPC perception and understanding. The two cones instead represents the primary and secondary FOV. The red color means that if you stand in that location, it will result in NPC reacting the slowest to you, and the green color instead represents the quickest response. So during the night, NPC will have a hard time to understand and foresee and see things. But if they have flashlights on their helmets, they can turn it on, and this will impact their primary FOV, making still the peripheral vision a bit more uncertain. And as you see here, the dynamic generation of covers on the planet allows us to exploit all the elements of the environment. Whenever navigation mesh generates, NPC can now have a chance to fight with you hiding behind the available elements. Boulders, rock, walls, and are all useful elements right now. However, we don't have to limit ourselves to static geometries, but also vehicles can be used for cover. And as you can see, this is dynamically generating while the vehicle moves. So be careful where you park your Ursa, because now it can become a source of danger for you as well. Last but not least, these systems can be just used on all the different type of navigation mesh we have, so not on the planet, but also, for example, the interiors and everything you guys construct. Because obviously, you guys will build your own locations, but you don't really mark up stuff, or you don't want to decide that, because that's going to come automatically out of the system. So what we see here is that with the introduction of Maelstrom last year, obviously, we knew this would revolutionize how you guys are playing. And we did have to find a solution to handle all the destruction you can create. So you would destroy so much stuff in this world that we had to find a solution, right? So this is why we approach the coverage generation navigation mesh as it is, because there is just no way for us to predict anything that you're doing, and we want just Maelstrom to be another trigger for word evaluation. So as you see, this is all dynamically generating. And destroying anything just makes the word be reevaluated. So, as you see here, we can have also lots of rules. So you can see double tick here. But when ticks break, first they invalidate, and then when they rest, for example, we can decide when is a good moment to regenerate, so that we also don't waste too much CPU cycles.
So this is the forest as you'd see it without the GI system. As you can see, all the shadows are receiving lighting from the same environment probe, so it's basically just a flat color across. We replace that with around 40,000 mini ray trace probes. Each of them has their own view of the sky, and so that gives you way more contrast and variation as you move in and out of the canopy. As you can see, Pico's in trouble again, but because the lighting team hasn't helped, you can't see anything in most of the scene. If you add the transparency GI system, suddenly the whole scene comes alive. And this is something that we could never have done until we added this tech. So here's what we need to beat. Now, obviously, it reads as shiny, but there's this kind of fakeness to it. It kind of looks a bit like it's flying. So let's see what the ray tracing looks like. Yeah, it's really noisy and horrible. We need to clean it up. So what we do is we let pixels share their data in space, and then also in time to clear up the final image. And then we let the game's normal anti-aliasing just kind of clean up the last stuff and carry us over the finish line. And that's how you make a chrome penguin. So here we start adding natural areas of light and shade and warm and cool colors. These open areas benefit in the same way as the forest scene did, adding areas of shade and areas of open lighting. Like I mentioned, the time of day shifting leads to different ambience as the sun moves. And this is the shot that I just liked. Finally, let's see how the new GI system can brighten up your character's day. And also their day as well, whoever they are.
So you can hear the pitch and tempo changing as we move relative to the Benny Noodle machine, and this is all fully systemic, no special treatment for this sound. Okay, sounds cool. What about weapon fire? So let's bring in a sniper and, unfortunately for the sensitive of heart, a Pico. We're going to hear this first from the perspective of both with no speed of sound effect. Okay, so that's if you were at the Pico perspective there, that's how you'd hear it in game right now. Let's hear it with speed of sound enabled, and this time we're just going to listen from Pico's perspective. So Pico's down before he even hears the shot. But don't worry, he's not dead. Okay, let's finish him off. Now he's dead. And as the voice of Pip's Power Up, I need to get some proper placement in. So there's one more example for you. Now finally, oh, not finally, we have ship weapons, so listen to the fire rate as the ship approaches the camera here, giving you a bit of a sense of threat. It's not too easy to tell what's going on there, but you get an increase in fire rate. Finally, the really cool stuff, explosions. So we can put a cinematic element, a shockwave element, and a delayed speed of sound effects. And that's way too cool to do just once, so we're going to do it twice more from further distance. So again, cinematic effect first when you see it. Shockwave, and the explosion itself. This is all completely driven by parameters in the game, so we can do this for real whenever you drop a Moab. One more. That's pretty cool.
It's a nice day on the surface, but something's different. The clouds are moving, but they're not just moving. They're forming naturally in changing shape. They dissipate as they glide on the atmosphere based on wind data, stratus and cumulus alike. Now we start seeing the new cloud shading model come into play. We are seeing enhanced occlusion beneath the cover, emphasizing the sunbeams, how it interact with the clouds, and seeing the light shafts peer through the layers. Now, as this is closing in, we can start to see the changes in visibility of the area. Light precipitation is starting. Previously, we authored static cloud shapes, but no longer. We didn't manually place a volume here. Its presence has been informed by Genesis data. Oh, and it's not just a cloud volume. It's a weather front. Now we're trying to see the wind picking up. Terrain and rocks are getting wet. Vegetation, grass, and the overall environment are responding to the weather. The system is changing the world around us. We can see puddles being formed dynamically in the dirt, properly responding to light, reflections, and rain droplets, making it getting really ominous and loud in here. I can feel the danger. I think we should let this play out in the game.
Getting out of this suit now. Powering up and flying out. We'll need to switch to IFR. See you on the other side.
Hey Sean, and a big hello to everybody at CitizenCon. How's it going?
Hey Ollie, it's great to see you. Everyone's having a great time. I see you're using FOIP. Where are you?
Drive. That's correct. I'm sat here in the comfort of my own home, talking to you via the power of FOIP and my webcam. We've been working on FOIP recently, and we're starting to see some improvements to the quality of the tracking in-game.
That sounds awesome. Can you tell everyone what you've done to improve it?
Well, we started off by looking at what we originally had, and we realized that some mouth poses were really difficult to pull. So we focused on improving the range of motion of the mouth, which now looks like this. Hopefully, you can see there's more of a one-to-one relationship with what's going on in my webcam, and this has helped some of those problematic poses we were seeing before, one of which being a closed-lipped smile, which was quite difficult to achieve previously. We've also started to add in secondary motions that happen naturally when pulling combination face shapes, like squinting in the eyes when smiling or frowning. And when we combine these secondary motions with the wrinkle maps, it really goes to show just how much work has gone into these heads. Let's see how many wrinkle maps we can trigger, huh? And finally, one other thing we noticed was the tracking quality could be quite noisy in environments where the lighting is less than ideal. So to combat this, we've introduced tracking stabilization, which helps to reduce the amount of noise we get from the webcam. We're seeing positive results in low light conditions, but we're also seeing a small quality boost in optimal lighting conditions. The result is a more expressive and stable face, which is great for using in-game or making videos in the verse. And we still have a little ways to go with FOIP, but the future is bright for this feature, and we can't wait to see what wonderful things you use it for in the verse.
So, I see you're in the character creator. Let's change how you look.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's change up my appearance here a little bit and see what we can make. The super cool thing about the character customizer is that it continues to track my face even when editing. And this is great if you want to see what FOIP will look like on your character before you commit to your appearance. Let's start off by changing my hairstyle, shall we? We have a bunch of cool hairstyles to pick from, and I used to have pretty long hair back in the day. So let's try and find something longer than I currently have. Okay, that's wild. Not quite what I'm looking for, but what else do we have? Dreadlocks. Super cool. Not what I'm after, though. Let's see here. There we go. Much better. The fun thing here is with the head tracking, it's much easier to rotate around and quickly see what I'm going to look like. Let's stick with that for now. That looks good to me. We can do the same for anything else in the customizer, but I'm going to go ahead and remove my beard here, because I want to show you that FOIP still works when changing the structure and characteristics of my actual face. We have a lot of heads in our customizer, and I'm just going to cycle through a few of them here to show you that whatever we choose, we're still tracking, and we're good to go. We can even start to manipulate individual aspects of the face, with no detriment to the mapping onto the head. FOIP won't break when you combine these heads together. So if you just want to tweak a small aspect of your character, or take on the likeness of one of the heads included, you can do so, and test out exactly how the tracking is going to look based on your face movements in the webcam. You can now see I'm someone totally different, and we're having no troubles tracking. And if I don't like what I've picked, I can always just randomize here, which I think is a great way of not only showing the countless combinations of heads that we can make, but also that FOIP will continue to work with anything that we throw at it. I think I'm looking pretty good here, Sean. What do you think?
Yeah, good. I think it's pretty unique to Star Citizen. Thanks a lot for showing it.
Anytime. And I hope everybody has an awesome sitcom. See you later.
Crew, you're saved. Come on out, John Crew.
Okay, so what we're seeing here is the in-game version of the CSV. It's complete with its 4 SCU of cargo up on the rear. And I think the CSV kind of really builds on what Argo is known for as a manufacturer. It's got those kind of like really kind of hard industrial looks, and I think it helps it kind of feel at home on any build site. All of its components are easily accessible. And I think the exterior is like real dominating factory, so it's kind of large all-terrain wheels, and then that's kind of backed up by just simple, smooth, sleek lines. We've got the front-loaded cab that puts all the controls kind of right in the kind of where the player needs them, and I think that's one of the keys to the ship as a whole, or the vehicle as a whole, sorry, is it's simple, it's purposeful, it's functional, and I think that just kind of just helps it to kind of feel part of that Argo family.
Built for life.
We will take a little bit of a closer look at it now. I think the Starlancer kind of really fully encapsulates MISC's kind of ability to create beautiful ships. It's got this bulbous design that really helps to kind of convey its underlying structure and its underlying strength. I think when the engineers were trying to kind of put this together, they were thinking about what's useful, what's great, and one of the things that we thought about was this deployable cargo grid that just brings the cargo down to the ground, makes it much easier for loading and unloading. And they also wanted to put the crew, they wanted to put what was important for them. So they've added a lot of windows out so the crew can see out into the verse, and it's one of the things that we know people like, is being able to have these kind of little windows out into space. And then above the kind of main habitation area, we've got these big skylights, and they just allow kind of like more natural light to cast down into the cruise area. For a bit more protection, you've got 8 size 3 missiles up front, and then a further 8 on top. And these are backed up by a set of size 4 remote turrets, both front and rear, that give good topside coverage. And then finally, when we get to the front, you'll see we have a further set of size 4 gimbaled weapons. And again, these just kind of help to fill in those blind spots. I think as a whole, the engineers or MISC have done an exceptional job in creating a vehicle that kind of fully encapsulates the functionality needed, while still ensuring that the crew's kind of well-being and livelihood is protected. It's all in a package that kind of really dominates the sky, and I think it really shows off MISC's ability to deliver kind of quite beautiful ships.
So,
love it or hate it, we love it. The MISC traditional letterbox view is back. At the front of the ship, you have the pilot, co-pilot seat with 2 support stations at the rear. These are the ones that control the remote turrets by default. Then behind that, we have the escape pod room. 4 escape pods, full crew. And then behind that, we have the traversal. It's sort of a traversal room. It has a lift, goes between the 2 floors of the ship and goes to the exterior of the ship. And then a ladder for emergency backup. Behind that is the mess hall area. So nice shared communal space for you to relax with your crew. And then we move into the 4 individual crew rooms, each with double beds, so very luxurious for a spaceship. En suites for all. At the rear of this section, we have a further 2 lifts. These are just internal to go between the 2 decks of the ship. Then at the rear, we have the main engineering. So there are some components dotted around throughout the rest of the ship, but the bulk of your components and the engineering terminal are here at the rear of the ship. So that's upstairs. Let's go downstairs a little bit. We have the main vehicle entrance and cargo entrance for the rear section. This can be used as a garage, but it is also a cargo hold. Can fit vehicles up to a Ursa rover in size in here. And then on the max, we have, as you saw in the trailer, the 2, it's sort of 1 cargo lift that drops down, but it retains a walkway throughout the center of the ship. So regardless of whether your cargo is up, down, being loaded, you still have traversal front to back of the ship. Then we have the downstairs of the traversal room, which also features the airlock onto the ship. And then lastly, we have the armory at the front of the ship. So if you're coming on board, leaving via EVA, leaving via that front entrance to the ground, you can stop off here, suit up, get your weapons, do the reverse coming back. And that is the Starlancer Max.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to have a little look at kind of like the concept and where it's at on the interior. We start out on the interior bridge. It's very spacious, or command deck bridge, whatever you want to call it. It gives kind of really nice views out over the front of the ship. And right up front, you've got all the consoles required that you need to kind of control the ship, as well as the kind of additional remote turret access consoles. And then at the rear, we have the main kind of navigation components and some small engineering consoles. And kind of flanking either side, we've got these 2 corridors, and they lead out to the manned turrets that kind of sit above the bridge. And they also have all the escape pods needed for all the bridge crew. Like I say, we want this to kind of be a home away from home, so we have a very large, comfortable habitation area. Each of the crew members, they get their own individual crew pod. And one of the nice things about this is these actually open up, and they allow kind of each crew member to kind of decide like how much privacy they actually want. This is the crafting area. We've got the 4 kind of crafting machines. And these are right next to the cargo bay, the internal cargo bay. And as John says, this holds up to 1,000 SEU of cargo, so it's pretty sizable. To make it a little bit easier, it's got its own dedicated cargo lift at the back that, again, just simplifies that kind of getting cargo in and out of the vehicle. Down at the front, we have the drone room. Now, these will be 4 extra large drones, so they'll be able to craft our largest structures in game. They exit the ship out through the roof, and they're all controlled by the construction console in this area. Then finally, we're just going to take a quick look at the crafting area on the ship. So you can see here we've got these blast shields down that kind of protect the crew in this area from what's going on inside. And then as these open up, we just finished making a storm. And as we see, there's a ramp that leads out, so you can drive any ground vehicles straight out the front. Between all the landing gear, and you get this really nice kind of like sense of scale as you're driving underneath out the front of the ship. And we've also got the top exit for any flight vehicles. And then finally, we have the landing pad. And this just allows us for any ships that land up on deck, we can just bring them down into the belly of the ship.
see how the recoil is reduced on our high-tier gun. The spooling is faster on a high-tier quantum drive. And a high-tier scraper beam is much more effective.
We found a beautiful location by a lake. This is where we'll build ourselves a home. To do so, we need some resources and the construction graph card. The construction graph card allows us to survey the land, claim the land in a lawful system, and it allows us to build structures. As we've already found the location and don't need to claim land in lawless PYRO, we can straight dive into building our base. Keep in mind, the following UI is work in progress. A survey drone that deploys from the top of the card gives us a controllable augmented view of the land. In the new structure mode, we'll pick a small basic structure and hit construct. For this demo, the construction will be instantaneous. But in the final product, this will take you quite some time. We've done it. We've built our first structure. Let's have a look on the inside. As we walk into the small basic structure, we see an empty interior that is dimly lit. It's up to us to define what we will use this space for. In our case, we will want to make it into a home. We can see that the lights are still off, and that is a problem, because no lights means no atmosphere, no breathable atmosphere. So it's not ideal to live in. So how do we solve this issue? We can improve this by providing the building with power. Let's see if we can build something that helps us out. But before we dive into more building, let's take a quick moment to enjoy the freedom that the survey drone provides us with and admire the aesthetics of our first structure. And I wonder what Declan was up doing there. Keep in mind that base building is still work in progress, but what you're seeing right now has been recorded directly in the client and works seamlessly between first person and the building mode. Okay, enough. Back to base building. In the list of new structures, we see a small fuel generator. That is something that could solve our problem, I think. Power providing structures need to be hooked up to other buildings inside construction ER mode, but we'll explain this later. The fuel generator is one of several structures that provides power, each with their own benefit and drawbacks. Fuel power is quick and easy to build, but it requires a constant supply of fuel besides its regular maintenance. If a structure is not maintained, it will halt its activity. Players will need to maintain fuses to keep the building operational. The better crafted fuse, the longer it lasts. This is where the fuse goes on this building. Next up, we have a terminal that gives us access to the status of our building. And, more importantly, we get to activate it here. That should do it. Let's see if we got power in the building now. As you notice, some of the crates in the background have disappeared, as their content has been consumed during the construction process of the buildings. And it looks like Declan is now hooking up the power to the building. I wonder what he was up to earlier, though. Wow. Declan has been busy decorating the place. As we can see, the lights are now properly working. We got atmosphere, and we can start to use the item fabricator now that there is power. Always handy in case we need a fuse. Let's have a quick look at what we've done so far. We've decorated the place. We made it our own little home. We hooked it up with power. I would say we have a place that we can live in. It might not be much, but I think it's just enough to call it a home. Thank you.
So to kick us off, called in the help of a friend who has a specialized, not yet revealed base building vehicle, and he's built us this. It is the construction hub. This has 4 automated drones compared to the GravCarts 2. They can build small, medium, and large buildings. So far, we've only seen small. Automated drones are capable of building 1 structure each simultaneously, so 4 is quite a big advantage. We'll pop into our construction AR and we'll get down a generator, we'll connect some buildings together just so we have a place to call home before we begin. All right, there we go. So we've settled on one of the brand new underground resource deposits and we're about to exploit it using this. It is our extractors. This particular one is a large solid extractor. We'll also have liquid and gas depending on which type of deposit that you've settled on. We have our output grid here where we're getting all the brand new resources up out the ground. And it is important to note that once these things are set up, it's not a case of just free resources forever. On key structures like this, there are fuses which will occasionally need replaced, as well as environmental wear which can be fixed using crafting materials. Now we want to turn those raw resources into the more valuable refined materials. We saw the process talked about earlier with Thorsten. Of course we want this, it is our refinery. Once again there are multiple types here. This one is the large solid matter refinery. We have liquid and gas again, as well as biological, depending on the type of materials that you're using and want to produce. Refinery has input and output grids. For input, as you might expect, it's for the resources which you're going to consume, and then the output is for the resulting refined goods. This is a terminal where you'd select which blueprint you want to use, and therefore which type of refining method you want. A lot of crates here with our extractor and our refinery, so we're going to put down our elevator storage. Base is really starting to build up now, but it's worth me mentioning again here that whilst we're putting these buildings down instantly in this video, large structures like this, they will take some time with the automated construction drones, but the smaller scale base we saw in the previous video, that can be done in a single play session. We'll just keep on putting down more extractors because we want as much as that valuable resource out the ground as quick as possible. And with base building, we're introducing the concept of a freight elevator network. What this will allow you to do is it will allow you to link multiple freight elevators together, and in turn they will share the same storage. So as we're doing here, we'll deposit an item on freight elevator A, and then we're retrieving it on freight elevator B. There is a distance limit, but you can daisy chain the elevators together to extend that, and it has to all be contained within the same base. Now, as we expand, we might want to invite more people to join us. This is easy to do. There will be permissions that we can set up, granting people access to our base, and they can even build their own structures if they wish. We can also give them access to existing structures, which is how you can form your org storage using those freight elevators. Now, we always want a safe place to store our ships, so the trusty hangar will do. See, it has this large, we call it a foundation tile. It's quite special in that it can actually deform the terrain around it, making it easy to place such a huge structure like this. You can also place other buildings on it, so it's easy for making large, sprawling bases. However, there is one final piece of the puzzle that we need to achieve our goal, and it is this, our very own fabrication hangar. Does anyone want to guess what we're going to build in a fabrication hangar? An Idris, maybe not an Idris, if I'm honest. We'll have a drive around, we'll go to the entrance and we'll see what's in store for us. Looks like whatever it is, it's just about finished crafting. Of course, we were going to build ourselves a ship.